Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm bringing you my very first DIY for this channel. I'm going to be showing you how I did the DIY reversible fall and Christmas sign. If you guys haven't seen the video where I decorate my front porch, that's where you saw the sign, and I gave you a little bit of sneak peek of the back end of how I made it. But if you guys are interested in that, please stay tuned. And like I said before, I did give a sneak peek of this sign in my fall porch decor video. If you guys haven't seen that, I will list it up above in the iCards as well as down below in the description. Okay, first of all, what I'm doing is I'm just painting the sign a white color. Here I just used a basic interior paint that I already had from painting something in my house. So that's all I used. If you guys want to go purchase your own, I would recommend either a chalk paint or just a regular white craft paint that you can find at Walmart, Joann's, Michael's, wherever you buy your craft supplies. And as far as the wood itself goes, all I did is I went to my local Lowe's and I found one that was about the right width and the right height that I liked. I did not have them cut it in store. I just picked one that I already liked that was cut there. I know that they do cut wood there for you for free if you buy it there. So if you do see like a longer board or kind of a board that's in between, they will cut it for free for you. And this board, I did paint it 3 times. I wanted to make sure that it was a nice base coat, but I also know that like the rustic is in. But if you are using chalk paint, I know it does go on a little bit thicker than a regular house paint. And also with a chalk paint, it's more for like a rustic kind of finish. So if you were doing that, I would just recommend doing 1, maybe 2, and kind of scuffing it up. And here I'm just putting on my fall decal that I made from my Silhouette Cameo. If you guys don't have a machine like that, what I would recommend is going into like Microsoft Word or something like that and creating your own little stencil. But instead of cutting it out, what I would do is take the paper once you print it out and put it over your board and trace around it with either like a pencil or a pen, and kind of trace hard enough to where you'll leave an indent on the wood itself. And that way you can kind of use that as your own little stencil. Once you remove the paper, you will see that little indentation all the way around the letters. And then that way it'll give it like a handmade feel, but you won't have to have a special machine like I do. And I'm just doing several coats of the black and the brown. I'm using my hair dryer to dry it in between, just like I did the whiteboard. You don't have to do this. You can let it air dry, and I actually would recommend letting it air dry on its own, but I am so impatient that I wanted to just get it done and see what it looked like. So I was using my hair dryer. If you are using a stencil like I am, a little technique that I did learn is never completely load your paintbrush up, because if you do, you are just running the risk of having it bleed through under. And you're going to see that I did do that in certain areas. So I would recommend that. I would recommend not loading up your brush, and I would also recommend using a thin layer of Mod Podge over the stencil, over the area you're going to paint before you use your paint color. I would recommend that too. And what the Mod Podge does, you can either use Mod Podge or just the base color. So you would either, in this case, you would use the Mod Podge or you would use white. And the reason why I recommend that is because if a paint or a material is going to leak under the stencil, it would be that clear Mod Podge or it would be the white. And so then that way it wouldn't show. It wouldn't look like bleed lines. And right here I am showing you where it did bleed through my stencil. This isn't a fail-safe method. Even sometimes when you will use the Mod Podge, it will bleed through, or the same if you will use the paint. I didn't get a very good seal on my stencil. This was the very first time I used that clear blue material, so it bubbled up in a few areas and that's why it bled through. But all I did to correct that was I went back in with a fine tip brush and just painted over those bleed through marks with the white, and it turned out perfect. Like, you can't even tell that it bled through. And now, as you can tell, I'm working on the back side of the sign. I thought it would be so cute to turn one of the letters into like an object. Like on the Believe, I turned it into a tree. And as you saw before, on the Fall, I turned it into a leaf. And I just think it is so cute. It's so unique. And I have seen those floating around in stores. And I just thought, oh, that would be so cute if I did that on my own sign. And the craft paint that I'm using to paint the letters, I did just buy this from Walmart. I cannot remember the name brand that I used, but it's just those little bottles that you find in the arts and crafts section. Any of those brands I have used, or all of the brands, let's rephrase, I have used, and they are just perfect. I love them. I've even used the little tiny chalk paints that Walmart offers, and those are perfect too. So if you did want to give this more of a rustic feel, I would use chalk paint instead of the regular craft paint and then kind of scuff it up. I didn't want to go that route with my sign because it's going to be outside, and I think over time, over the years, it's kind of going to get that anyway, just being out in the sun and just being out in the Florida elements, so I didn't want to scuff this one up. But if I was doing it inside and kind of wanted a rustic feel right away, I would have probably used chalk paint and scuffed up the letters a little bit once I peeled the stencil. Is it just me, or is it completely satisfying to see this stencil being removed? It's like while you're painting it, you're not sure, oh, is it going to turn out? Is it going to bleed through? And then as you're peeling it up, you're just like, oh my goodness, this looks amazing. And that's how this side was. I hardly had any bleed through lines on this, but the lines that I did have, all I did was the same as I did with the Fall. I just touched it up with a fine tip paintbrush. Okay, now we are outside and my husband is doing this part for me. I completely suck when it comes to nailing things on signs. I always seem to blow through the other side. So I saved this for my husband to do. And all I did was, again, I got those strips from Lowe's. I did not have them cut them for me. We do have a saw at home, so I just measured the sides and got the measurements, cut it myself, and then I used a nice dark stain, and I just love the way that it turned out. You don't normally see these double signs with the frames, and I think it just makes it look completely farmhouse and so like high end. I just love the way that the trim made it turn out. Okay guys, and I really hope you like this video, and if you do, please give it a thumbs up so I know to make more of these DIYs for my channel. Okay guys, I will see you in the next one. Bye!